Stop wasting cities and communities. Adaptive reuse is not just about saving old buildings. It's about reclaiming culture, fighting wasteful demolition, and shaping resilient futures. Every building you demolish steals history, costs the planet, and breaks social trust. This audiobook will show you the shocking truth behind preservation politics and teach you how to become a relentless agent of change who turns forgotten spaces into powerful new beginnings.
Chapter 1. Stop ignoring the past. It's your future. Listen closely. You have a choice right now. You can either tear down history or you can build on it. That's the key. Ignoring the past doesn't just erase buildings, it steals the future. Think about what demolition really costs. It's not just bricks and wood hauled away, it's lost heritage. It's wasted energy, resources, and opportunity. Every building has a story. Every old wall whispers identity. When you decide to demolish, you wipe those voices silent. You wipe out decades, sometimes centuries of cultural memory. That loss? It's irreversible. Let me give you a clear example. Picture a historic factory once the heart of a working community. It stood abandoned, broken, forgotten. Most would say, demolish it, build something new and shiny. But someone said no. Instead, this building was transformed into a vibrant community center. It's where people meet, children play, entrepreneurs hatch plans. It didn't just get a new use, it reclaimed its role as community backbone. You have a choice. Tear it down or breathe new life into it. This is adaptation in action. It's not about nostalgia, it's about survival. You don't need permission from the past to honor it. You don't need permission from critics to reclaim value. Adaptation in action is about discipline, not sentimentality. Here's a fact that should shake you. A new energy-efficient building can take 10 to 80 years to offset the carbon released during its construction. The planet can't wait that long. Reusing existing structures slashes the carbon footprint immediately. That's the power of building smarter, not newer. So remember this. Ignoring the past steals our future. Remember, reuse, reclaim. Your role? To fight to save that link between yesterday and tomorrow. This fight isn't easy. You'll face resistance from demolition advocates and profit-driven interests. They want the quick fix. You want legacy and sustainability. One more truth. Preservation is not just saving pretty facades. It's about protecting meaning, community, and culture. It's an economic sense too. Adaptation reuse often costs less, speeds up development, and sparks local revitalization. When one building thrives again, it uplifts neighborhoods and economies around it. You have a choice. You can lead the charge or fall behind. It's not about architectural aesthetics alone. It's about responsibility, courage, and impact. The old is fertile ground for innovation and growth if you're smart enough to see it. You mastered your choice to value history. Now let's talk about the ugly politics behind every decision. Chapter 2.
Chapter 2. Demolish or redeem. The ugly politics you must know. Listen up. You have a choice. That choice doesn't just happen on blueprints or site plans. It happens in the grit of politics, where developers clash with preservationists and communities fight for their voices to be heard. Politics isn't just noise. It's the battleground for every building's fate. The ugly truth? Power and profit margins often outweigh preservation values. Developers see land as dollar signs. Demolition means a blank slate. New construction means more units, higher rents, faster returns. Preservation? It looks like risk, delay, and reduced profits. That's why adaptive reuse projects face fierce opposition. Take one real-world example, a historic textile mill slated for demolition to make way for luxury condos. The developer pushed hard, citing market demands, but preservationists activists, and local residents fought back. They demanded a plan to reuse the mill as affordable housing and community space. The battle played out in city council meetings, public hearings, media campaigns. The tension was raw, real, and relentless. You have a choice. You can sit on the sidelines, or you can learn the rules of this fight. The politics isn't just background noise. It is the arena you must master. Understanding it, who wields power, who influences decisions, who wins and who loses, is your first weapon. Know this: city officials often walk a tightrope. They want growth, jobs, and tax revenues. They also want healthy communities and heritage preserved. But the scales often tip toward economic gains, especially when short-term profits are promising. Your role? Be the voice that demands balance. You don't need their permission to push for equity. You don't need permission to disrupt the status quo. Politics isn't just about loud arguments. It's about relationships, networks, and strategy. Behind closed doors, alliances form, deals are struck, permits granted or denied. Adaptive reuse thrives when preservationists become savvy negotiators, when communities organize, when architects speak louder than profits. Remember, demolition is quick and easy. Redeeming an old building takes time, trust, and tenacity. But that discipline is exactly the transformative power you and your community need. Persistence wears down opposition. Clear communication builds champions. Meaningful partnerships turn skeptics into allies. You see, this is not some abstract game. Behind every political move, lives hang in the balance. Community spaces lost, cultural identity erased, affordable homes replaced by unaffordable luxury. That's the human cost hidden behind development battles. Your job is to make those costs undeniable. You have a choice. You can let politics shape your environment by default, or you can shape politics to preserve your environment by design. It's not about naivete. It's about discipline, knowing the battlefield and owning it. The stakes, high. The work, hard. The reward, lasting impact. You mastered your understanding of the political battlefield. Now it's time to claim your role as a defender of community and culture.
Chapter 3. Your blueprint is a social contract. Honor it. Listen carefully. You have a choice in every line you draw, every wall you repurpose, and every material you save. That choice is bigger than design. That choice is a commitment, a social contract with communities and their stories. Your blueprint is not just paper and plans, it is a promise. Your blueprint is a promise. Keep it. Own it. Adaptive reuse is more than bending old structures to new uses. It's about honoring the lives that filled those spaces before. It's about respecting histories, cultures, and aspirations tied to every brick and beam. When you commit to reuse, you commit to people, communities, stakeholders. Remember, your project lives in a human ecosystem. Think of a community-driven library conversion. This wasn't just about turning old walls into shelves. This was a pact with locals who had felt ignored and unheard for decades. The design team didn't show up with all the answers. They showed up ready to listen, to collaborate, not just build. The community had fears. Will this library erase our identity, or will it respect it? Through workshops, open forums, and transparent planning, the architect and residents shaped the project together. The result? A space where history meets hope, where memories are honored and new stories begin. This is the power of your blueprint as a social contract. You have a choice. You don't need their permission to honor the past. You don't need to sacrifice progress for preservation. It's not about choosing one at the expense of the other. It's about discipline, balancing heritage and innovation. Here's the core. Adaptive reuse demands you deeper than design skills. It demands empathy, patience, and integrity. You cannot rush a social contract. You must build trust brick by brick, conversation by conversation. When you break this contract, when you choose quick profits over community, you fracture trust, erode legacy, and breed resentment.
Your blueprint is a promise. Keep it. Own it. Repeat this mindset daily because it governs every decision, every line you draw. Who benefits? Who is left behind? Who gets a voice? Answer these honestly. That honesty is your foundation. Transformative design means more than clever ideas or trendy aesthetics. It's the courage to pause, listen, and adapt. It's the discipline to include those who will live with your work long after you're gone. It's the commitment to social equity embedded in concrete and steel. Remember this, communities are not obstacles, they are partners. Engage early, engage often. Let them shape your vision as much as your design shapes their environment. This process, while slower, is a powerful catalyst for success. It turns skeptical neighbors into passionate allies. Real-world evidence shows adaptive reuse with solid community collaboration boosts social capital, enhances pride, and increases long-term sustainability. Ask yourself, is my design process inclusive? Am I a good listener? Do I see my blueprint as a promise to a living community? You have a choice. Discipline yourself to honor the social contract. That's the key to transformative architecture. It's not just about changing buildings. It's about changing lives with respect, dignity, and trust. You mastered the responsibility of your blueprint as more than lines. Now, it's time to embed sustainability at the core of your legacy.
Chapter 4. Sustainability isn't optional. It's survival. Listen closely. You have a choice every time you decide what to build and what to preserve. That's the key. Sustainability in architecture isn't a luxury or an afterthought. It is survival, especially when it comes to adaptive reuse. Let me be clear, the built environment is one of the largest contributors to carbon emissions worldwide. Construction and demolition gobble up natural resources, release massive greenhouse gases, and fill landfills with waste. But here's the hard truth. Demolishing buildings and starting fresh is a disaster in disguise. A new, energy-efficient building doesn't erase its carbon footprint overnight. It can take 10 to 80 years before the energy saved offsets the emissions produced during construction. That is decades of lost time, lost opportunity, and lost hope for the planet. The planet can't wait that long. Neither can your community. That's why reuse is more than preservation. It's a radical act of sustainability. Adaptive reuse slashes energy waste dramatically because it preserves what already exists and avoids the destructive costs of demolition. Waste less, build smart, survive longer. Repeat, waste less, build smart, survive longer. Look to iconic examples. The High Line in New York City. This abandoned railway transformed into a lush, elevated park preserves infrastructure while adding green space to the urban core. It revitalized its neighborhood, brought biodiversity back, and cut emissions by avoiding demolition of tons of steel and concrete. Or take the Tate Modern in London, a former power station reimagined as one of the world's most visited art museums. By preserving its industrial bones instead of tearing it down, it avoided an environmental disaster and gave community culture a new life. This is how sustainability and heritage intertwine. You have a choice. You don't need their permission to save energy and carbon. You don't need to compromise your process for speed or fashion. It's not about ignoring progress. It's about disciplined progress. Progress that respects limits, resources, and futures. Adaptive reuse projects often also come with financial benefits, lower acquisition costs, fewer material requirements, and faster development timelines. They revitalize neighborhoods, boost local business confidence, and often qualify for green building certifications like LEED. Sustainability is smart economics as well as ethics. This is where you shift from being just a designer to a steward, a custodian of the environment and community.
Your discipline will win battles against wastefulness and short-sightedness. Remember, the planet's survival depends on smart choices in how and what you build. So stop thinking of sustainability as optional. It's not a checkbox. It's the baseline for responsible architecture. Reuse isn't just about saving old buildings. It's about saving what can't be replaced, our future. You must stop ignoring embodied carbon, the energy embedded in existing materials. Stop thinking of existing infrastructure as an obstacle. Instead, see it as a powerful resource already paid for by past generations. Waste less, build smart, survive longer. This mantra must become your battle cry. Repeat it to clients, collaborators, and yourself. Demand sustainability at every phase, from concept through construction. Let this guide your every decision. Choose materials wisely. Retrofit with energy efficiency upgrades. Upgrade HVAC, insulation and lighting. Use recycled or sustainably sourced materials. Every choice compounds. You have a choice. Harness the power of adaptive reuse to slash waste and carbon emissions. That's the key. Sustainability isn't optional. It is survival. You mastered sustainability as the foundation of reuse. Now it's time to put communities at the center of your projects.
Chapter 5. The Community Speaks. Listen to change. You have a choice. You can close the door and do it your way, or you can open it and truly listen. That's the key. Community voice is not noise. It is your guide. If you want to transform preservation politics, you must start by honoring the people who live, remember, and imagine within these buildings. Too many architects and planners charge ahead, convinced they know best. They draw plans in isolation. They sell visions before asking questions. Then they wonder why projects face resistance or die before they even start. You don't need their permission to listen, but you do need discipline. Real transformation happens when you replace arrogance with engagement. Every adaptive reuse story that endures begins and ends with people. Community shapes purpose. Community unlocks history, memory, and local knowledge that you can't find in any archive. That's the key again. If you respect the wisdom and emotion that residents bring, you build trust. If you ignore it, you build a wall. Let's talk about what listening really looks like. Not just surveys or token public meetings, but actual dialogue. It's the tense, honest conversations where doubts are aired, fears are voiced, and real needs are revealed. I want you to picture this scene. The city is holding a meeting on a rundown community center slated for demolition. Local residents trickle in, arms crossed, skeptical looks on their faces. A project manager steps up and says, "We're here to help." The air tightens. Then a resident stands and speaks. "We've seen projects come and go. Each time we get promises, but nothing sticks. What makes you different?" The project manager could dodge or deflect, but instead she says, "You have lived here longer than I've been alive. I don't have your answers. My job is to listen. Tell me what this building means to you." That's the turning point. That's the discipline. One by one, stories surface, the dances in the basement, the shelter during harsh winters, the space where generations grew up. You learn what really matters. The project changes shape. The community moves from skeptic to stakeholder. Community voice is not noise. It is your guide. Repeat that. Burn it into your process. Dialogue creates advocacy. Advocacy creates energy. Energy transforms even the toughest preservation battles. People don't fight what they help create, they defend it. Real change requires humility. You must be prepared to slow down, to check your assumptions, to adapt your design based on what you hear. It's not about losing control. It's about gaining authentic direction. Community-centered design turns derelict buildings into engines of belonging, safety, and opportunity.
You don't need their permission to start this work, but you need the discipline to follow it through. That means outreach sessions, neighborhood walking tours, and shared sketches that reflect input from every voice: youth, elders, business owners, artists. It means letting residents critique and rewrite your plans. It means letting go of being the hero and becoming a partner. Do the hard work. Form advisory groups, circulate real surveys, collaborate with local nonprofits, and keep coming back even when it's uncomfortable. Keep communication open from day one until after the doors reopen. Newsletters, open houses, public art. Use every tool you have to keep people involved and informed. Let me give you a real-world example. In St. Louis, an old industrial building was transformed into an innovation district only after a year of active workshops with neighbors, business leaders, and city officials. They shared power and priorities. They argued, they envisioned, and they put community benefits in writing. The result was not just a new building, but a new source of pride, employment, and connection for the entire neighborhood. You have a choice. You can treat community participation as a box to check or as your secret weapon. When those residents start owning the project as their own, opposition changes into advocacy. That is transformation. That is legacy. Community voice is not noise. It is your guide. Use it at every step. When in doubt, listen more. When you hit a roadblock, ask again. Over-communicate. Be present. That's the discipline that sets successful adaptive reuse apart. You mastered partnership. Now it's time to face what comes next, the discipline of innovation.
Chapter 6. Innovate or stagnate. Materials and methods matter. You have a choice. Innovation or stagnation. That's the key. In adaptive reuse, every decision about materials and methods moves you toward transformation or traps you in destruction. Innovate with intention or stagnate in destruction. Old buildings aren't just relics, they're resources. They're waiting for champions who don't see barriers but see opportunity. You don't need their permission to think boldly. You don't need anyone's blessing to question the status quo. This is the discipline. It's not about nostalgia. It's about smart, sustainable, cost-effective innovations. It's about making every brick, beam, and window count. The world is full of boring, expensive waste. Your job is to banish it and replace it with purpose. Let's get practical. Start with premier materials. Reclaimed timber. It's durable, it's beautiful, and it honors history. Recycled steel. It saves cost, slashes emissions, and performs as well as the new. Advanced concrete mixes with lower carbon footprint. Adaptive glazing systems that bring natural light without losing thermal performance. Insulation made from organic, local, or recycled sources. These aren't just trends, they're necessities. The discipline is making these innovations your default, not your exception. Case study, New York's High Line. An abandoned railway transformed into a thriving public park. Materials? Salvaged steel, weathered wood, local vegetation. Methods? Prefabricated walkways allowed faster, cleaner installation. The High Line didn't just preserve history, it revitalized a whole district and became a global model. Another example, London's Tate Modern. Once a power station, now a world-class museum. Conversion utilized existing brickwork, repurposed steel frames, and innovated with adaptable gallery spaces. Cost savings, carbon cuts, and new cultural life, all achieved through disciplined innovation. You have a choice. Innovate with intention or stagnate in destruction. Don't settle for good enough. Push for new methods, modular construction, off-site fabrication, digital design tools for precise retrofit, AI-powered feasibility studies to unlock hidden value. Don't think you're limited by the building skeleton. You're only limited by your imagination and resolve. You don't need permission to question past methods and learn from pioneers. You need discipline to stay relentlessly focused. Transformation begins with programmed experimentation. Prototype materials combinations. Test adaptive details. Reject what doesn't work. Repeat what does. Collaborate with engineers, sustainability experts, and craftspeople. Get their input early, not as an afterthought. Target cost without sacrificing integrity. The best projects deliver more with less. Less waste, less cost, less delay. Discipline means tightening every process. Audit your supply chain for recycled content. Negotiate with suppliers for innovative options. Behavioral instructions are clear. Stop defaulting to demolition. Stop using off-the-shelf materials without question. Start every project with a materials inventory. Ask, what can be kept? What can be improved? What can be transformed? Push boundaries. Adaptive reuse is not a compromise, it's an engine for creativity. It's about making bold choices that pay off in sustainability, community, and legacy. Innovate with intention or stagnate in destruction. Repeat this every time resistance appears. Push, insist, break through. You mastered innovation in materials and methods. Now let's focus on your role, becoming the activist leader every project needs.
8. Global lessons. Learn from the best. You have a choice. Stay locked in your bubble or look to the world for inspiration and discipline. That's the key. Adaptive reuse isn't just a local solution. It's a universal language. Look globally, act locally. Reuse is universal. Across the planet, cities have faced the same challenges: vacant buildings, broken economies, communities in need of new hope. Some ignore the past, some bulldoze. The best learn from history, then lead with creativity and courage. Each city that pioneers new solutions expands your toolkit. Why reinvent? Learn, adapt, push further. Start in New York City, the High Line. A forgotten elevated railway, now a lush park winding through Manhattan's heart. Why did it succeed? Not just design, community advocacy, creative partnerships, and a city government willing to experiment. This project teaches you public engagement turns skepticism into energy. And the world took notice. Now cities from Seoul to Sydney repurpose their infrastructure into public green space. Look globally, act locally. Reuse is universal. Jump to London, the Tate Modern, a hulking power station reborn as an art museum. Here, visionaries saw opportunity where others saw a teardown. They preserved vast brick walls, reimagined massive halls, and proved cultural icons can emerge from what was nearly lost. The lesson? Respect the bones, invent boldly inside them. Across Europe, cities now view abandoned factories and mills as cultural engines rather than dead weight. Travel to Maisenthal, France. The site Verrier, once a derelict glass factory, now a thriving cultural campus. Contemporary glass pavilions stand beside 19th century halls. Visitors flock for festivals, exhibitions, and shared memory. It's not about nostalgia, it's about breathing new life into identity. Innovate with intention, but anchor in place. Head to Mexico City, where architects convert threatened historic homes and warehouses into co-working spaces and neighborhood cafes. Policy hurdles abound, but they're met with flexibility, zoning incentives, adaptive codes, and financial nudges that reward creativity, not just conformity. The lesson? Policies shape possibility. Push for the right policies at home. Kenya shows a different face of global reuse. The Kibera Slump upgrading project in Nairobi didn't start with what's historic. It started with what's needed: dignity, safety, and community in one of the world's largest informal settlements. Through reuse and incremental improvement, sanitation upgrades, revamped community centers, residents became co-designers of their own future. Look globally, see that legacy isn't just for the privileged, it's for everyone. From Shanghai to Johannesburg, from Detroit to Barcelona, cultures adapt methods but share the mindset. Some prioritize heritage, others chase function and economy. Some rely on government, others on bottom-up activism. This diversity is strength. Use it. Look at where projects fail. When planners ignore context, when developers cut corners, when politics value speed over meaning, reuse collapses. Learn from these errors. Don't repeat them. You don't need their permission to raise standards. You just need discipline. Transformation demands humility. No culture owns the secret. Every successful reuse is powered by curiosity, engagement, and relentless adjustment. Every neighborhood, every site, every people, unique. You must look beyond your training, your city, your borders. Look globally, act locally. Reuse is universal. Borrow best practices, collaborate across countries. Visit international sites, talk to their creators, read their stories, and share your own. Adapt what works for your place and your people. You have a choice. Remain stuck in familiar ruts or level up by learning from the world's best. Honor both your roots and the endless innovations emerging everywhere. Take pride in being both student and leader. You mastered learning from the world. Now it's time to confront the real roadblocks, obstacles that test every skill, value, and ounce of discipline you possess.
Chapter 9. Overcoming obstacles. Red tape is your opponent. Have a choice. Give up at the first hurdle or push through. That's the key. Red tape is resistance. Cut through it with persistence. Adaptive reuse is a battlefield packed with permits, codes, and endless regulations. These aren't just paperwork annoyances. They are real obstacles designed to slow, stop, or redirect your project. You don't need their permission to navigate this web, but you do need discipline and strategy. One of the toughest traps is building codes. Most were written for new construction, not old bones with stories. Safety rules, fire standards, accessibility requirements, they often clash with preserving original materials and design. You must learn how to interpret, negotiate, and, when possible, adapt codes to fit your project without losing integrity. Zoning laws add another layer. A building's original use might be commercial, industrial, or residential, but today's needs differ. Changing use triggers new zoning and often scrutiny. Find allies in local government and planning departments. Educate them about the benefits of reuse. Create options that meet rules but push boundaries. Heritage preservation regulations seem like a fortress. They govern what you can change, what you can't. But they also protect value. Understand precisely where restrictions apply and where there's flexibility. Early and ongoing consultation with heritage bodies avoids costly delays and surprises. You have a choice. Let red tape stop you, or learn its language and leverage it. Persistence is discipline in action. Political will, regulatory bodies, community opinions, they all build tension, but with clear plans, expert counsel, and consistent advocacy, barriers fall. Step 1. Plan thoroughly. Conduct feasibility studies early. Identify regulatory roadblocks before they hit. That's preparation. Step 2. Build your team. Include experts who know codes, legal requirements, and preservation standards. This isn't a solo fight. Step 3. Engage regulators early and often. Meetings, presentations, written proposals. Don't surprise officials. Bring them on board as allies. Step 4. Document everything meticulously. You prove credibility with data, test results, and transparent decisions. Step 5. Anticipate delays but never accept them as defeat. When regulators push back, respond with patience and persistence, not frustration. Follow up, ask questions, adjust proposals strategically. Financial hurdles intertwine with legal ones. Adaptive reuse can expose unexpected cost overruns due to structural repairs or code upgrades. That's reality. Manage risk aggressively. Budget buffers, contingency planning, and phased renovations.
Don't ignore funding sources. Grants, historic tax credits, and green incentives from governments can ease financial burdens but meet strict compliance. Know the criteria funding inside out. You don't need permission to chase every dollar. You need discipline to follow through on applications and reporting. You have a choice. You can see red tape as a brick wall or as a puzzle to solve. The difference is mindset and discipline. Persist. Cut through it. Use every tool, every relationship, every moment. Action beats resistance every time. You mastered cutting through red tape. Now the blueprint transforms into action. Chapter 10. Turn knowledge into action. Your legacy begins now. You have a choice. Let ideas fade or make them real. That's the key. You've learned the concepts, the strategies, and the lessons of adaptive reuse. Now it's time to turn knowledge into action. This knowledge is power. Use it, own it, and change everything. Talk is cheap. Action is the only currency that counts. Start now. Don't wait for the perfect project. Don't wait for absolute clarity. Begin with what you have, where you are. Audit your local community. Identify a neglected building, a forgotten space. What's its story? Who cares about it? Reach out, gather voices, build a coalition. You don't need their permission to ask hard questions. You don't need to wait for a green light to advocate for reuse. It's not about being timid. It's about discipline. Push every process, every permit, and every partnership with relentless energy. Connect with policymakers, call for flexible codes, incentives for reuse, and priority for funding adaptive projects. Your action steps are clear. Start a local advocacy campaign. Engage with city council and planning departments. Write letters, articles, and op-eds explaining why adaptive reuse is vital for your community. Network with local historians, engineers, business owners, and artists. Volunteer for heritage organizations or historical commissions. Share what you learn. The more you teach, the more support you gain. Redefine your design practice. Refuse demolition by default. Demand sustainability and community engagement on every project. Document successes, case studies, before and after stories, measurable impacts. Celebrate every victory, learn from every loss. Real-world transformations don't happen alone. Every reuse success story is a web of advocates. In Toronto's Distillery District, the conversion of a 19th-century factory into a cultural hub started with just a handful of passionate community leaders. In Mumbai's Rajabai Clock Tower renewal hinged on a university's commitment and citywide outreach. In Kenya's Kibera, community-driven upgrades remade lives one incremental action at a time. Change begins with one disciplined step. You have a choice. Stand on the sidelines or step into the arena. Progress needs tough minds and thick skin. Expect setbacks. Anticipate resistance. Know that every action, however small, builds a foundation for future change. This is your call to elevate the conversation, mentor the next generation, lead public workshops, push for funding, track performance, hold institutions to real, measurable standards. Refuse shortcuts. Demand the hard path because only the hard path leads to legacy. This isn't just about buildings, it's about people, culture, the soul of cities. When you act, you shift preservation politics and adaptive reuse culture for good. This knowledge is power. Use it, own it, and change everything. Every lesson you learned in this audiobook is now a tool in your arsenal. Commit to one major step by the end of this week. Make it public. Make it stick. Challenge yourself and challenge others. You mastered learning. You mastered persistence. Now you must master legacy. Your legacy is not what you intend, it's what you do. Get started, build that legacy. Be the agent of change. This knowledge is power. Use it, own it, and change everything. Closing script. You've learned that adaptive reuse is not just about old buildings. It's about fighting for our history, our planet, and our communities. The politics are tough, the obstacles real, but the stakes couldn't be higher. Your role as an architect, planner, or citizen is clear. Honor the social contract, innovate relentlessly, listen deeply, and lead boldly. The future of our cities depends on what you do next. So stop waiting, start fighting. Reclaim the forgotten. Transform the ignored. Build more than structures, build legacies. This is your call to action. Will you step up or step aside?